Welcome back to another episode of Before You Buy, the show where we give you some straight-up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing, with games like Battlefield 6 and Arc Raiders taking up the oxygen in the multiplayer games arena. Feels like hype around Call of Duty is actually at one of the lowest points it's been in a long time. Modern Warfare 3 had more excitement behind it than this, and that was an expansion pack. They quickly turned into a full entry at the last minute. I mean, at least that game fixed the multiplayer after Modern Warfare 2, but what does Black Ops 7 have going for it? Well, in terms of features, a lot. It's got a 16-map multiplayer suite, a huge new zombies map with a return to the classic round-based formula, an ambitious new 4-player co-op campaign, and this bizarre new endgame that unlocks after completing the campaign that's essentially a PvE extraction shooter set in the city of Avalon, which for some reason has become a Call of Duty Black Ops staple. All that and full progression in all modes so you can rank up and level up your weapons no matter what you're playing. It's a big swing for what looked like a desperation move with them breaking the formula and releasing 2 Black Ops games back-to-back instead of sticking to the usual 3-studio formula that this series has been sticking to for better or worse since the 8th generation of consoles. First Modern Warfare 2 and 3, then Black Ops 6 and 7. It's the sort of thing that makes you wonder if they're struggling behind the scenes because we keep getting more and more studio names attached to these games. The scattershot, throw everything in mentality of Black Ops 7 could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing, but at least it's got to be better than Modern Warfare 3, right? Kind of, a little, I guess. I'm going to be frank here, the campaign in Black Ops 7 sucks. It's terrible, it's one of the worst in the series history, and it's enough to drag the rest of this otherwise solid package down with it. The multiplayer, in my short time with it, feels good. The new zombies map, solid return to form after last year's weird digression. Even the endgame is pretty cool as far as what it is, and it's actually fun to play. The problem is you have to get through the campaign to play it. People here at gameranx play Call of Duty for different reasons. I like the campaigns. I'm a big Call of Duty campaign person. I play all these games campaigns. There's too many of them for me to remember which is which at this point, but I do know when they're good and when they're bad. This one's bad. And the problem with Black Ops 7 is that the campaign co-op and the endgame are the things to talk about. The parts of the game where it's actually trying to do something that's new for this series. They're the most notable parts of the game, even if, like I said, I think the multiplayer offerings here are really solid. So unfortunately, that's got to be the focus. We have to talk about the campaign. And not just because it's trying to do something different with the co-op format, but because you have to play through it if you want to see the end game. So if you don't care about the campaign or the PvE stuff in any way, I'm just going to go ahead and say Black Ops 7 is actually really solid, and I think it's worth it for you. But as I said, different people play this game for different reasons. Amongst the gameranx crew, there are even fairly wide gaps in between why people play Call of Duty, and I'm actually more here for the campaign. I like the multiplayer of the finals, and to be frank, that's where I spend a lot of my multiplayer shooting time. Again, that said, if Call of Duty is your multiplayer jam, this is actually pretty good entry for it. The maps have reverted back to the usual 3-line Treyarch classics, which I think is a step in the right direction, even if not all 16 maps on offer stand out that much with their designs. At least most of them are new. The lightening up of the skill-based matchmaking is ultimately an improvement as well. I know the whole situation is a big debate in the community and opinions go all over the place, but from my time with Black Ops 7, I'd call it a big step in the right direction. Also, the general movement speed has been slowed down just a little bit. It's not Modern Warfare heavy, but compared to Black Ops 6, it feels better. I think 6 was just a little too fast. The new zombies map called Ashes of the Dam, that's a lot of fun. Yes, the story of these things they've gone off the rails, but I don't think it matters. I stopped knowing what was going on like in Black Ops 3. The gameplay is still tons of fun, even if it's bloated with all the usual Call of Duty junk. The menus and UIs, they're a mess, but they've been that way for a while. The whole Call of Duty launcher, needlessly confusing, none of that's gotten better. The point of the hub was to simply launch these games, but it's gotten more confusing than it ever has been. I mean, at least this one has a proper start screen where you can simply launch each of the main game modes. And that brings us back to the campaign. And guys, it's got problems. I could go all day talking about the terrible story and the lame level design, the blatant map reuse, the infuriating online-only requirements, but the real core problem is simple. It's a co-op mode that is not fun to play co-op in. Let me repeat myself here. This co-op game, which is designed around being played with a team of 4 people, online only, of course, no couch co-op allowed. So I hope you have 4 friends willing to shill out $70 for the game or $30 for an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription. But it's not fun to play with a team. At least with a team of public players. Man, it sucks. Maybe with friends you could have fun, but even then, there are a lot of great co-op games these days. They're a lot cheaper and a lot more satisfying. This one's not it. There's so many problems with the team-based nature of this game, and they just do not make sense from a design perspective. Like, why are half of the story cutscenes completely unskippable? You can skip some of them, but they still force you and your teammates to sit through long, boring dialogue segments where there's nothing happening. Sometimes you're forced to do these basic puzzle segments where really only one player gets to participate. Otherwise, you do nothing creative or interesting with the 4-player setup, period. There's literally one mission that tries to mix things up by separating the team, and that is it. Plot, incredibly basic. Usually for Call of Duty, especially Black Ops, you get plots that are a little too complicated, but this is the opposite. It's basically a nostalgia rehash of Black Ops 2 with the writing and the dialogue that's so blunt and stupid it's almost unbelievable. The game starts with this whole setup where, oh no, the bad guy from the second Black Ops is back for revenge, until they immediately undermine the plot by revealing the real bad guy. They waste another 2 levels before telling you the stuff that the bad guy from Blops 2 is coming back. It was a deep fake. Anyway, these games are supposed to be set in the future, and you're telling me that nobody thought deepfakes were an option. Nobody. It's why even bother doing any of this in the first place? The entire campaign is split up into visually messy, really boring levels that make up floating island chunks made from memories of Black Ops 2 and boring, empty open world style levels set on the Avalon map, which is eventually coming to Warzone. Somehow, these open world levels are actually worse than the ones from Modern Warfare 3. They barely feel designed. Just a lot of running back and forth on the map. You have the occasional boring boss fight splitting it up. Bullet, spongy enemy, blah, blah, blah. That's a general problem with the campaign that only gets worse the more allies you bring with you. Bullet sponge enemies they're man. So much time is spent point blank with an enemy unloading a 100-round clip into their face. Like, you're looking at the health bar floating above their heads more than the actual enemies. It's really not helped by how bizarrely passive the enemies in this game are, too. If they're not specifically scripted to go to a specific location, like in missions where you have to defend an area, then 90% of the time they just stand in place and don't do anything. They're so brain dead that at a certain point, I realize a lot of situations, it's just easier to run past enemies than to actually engage them. Because every mission, it's pretty much the same. Just running forward through dull corridors, blasting anything that gets in your way. You'd think that would get better the more players, but they really just crank up the tankiness on enemies to make it so you die faster. So if anything, playing with a group makes it take longer to get through the campaign. If you don't have a team who's actually on the ball, the boss fights are, they're a slog. Yeah, there are boss fights in here, and they all feel like they came right out of an Xbox 360 era game. It's wait your turn nonsense with waves of enemy reinforcements between small amounts of heavily telegraphed attacks. They're boring. They drag on too long. They're weirdly easy, too. I was hoping the campaign would at least get better as it goes along, but it gets worse. Whatever plot was established at first is long forgotten by the end. And it may legitimately have the worst final mission in a Call of Duty game ever. Instead of doing anything interesting, they just throw endless waves of the tankiest enemies at you in overly congested environments. It's not fun to play, and by the end, I was just really wanting to wrap things up. The only positive thing I can say about the campaign is it's at least short. I finished it in under 5 hours, and that's after wasting a bunch of time dying on the final mission. If it were up to me, I'd say avoid the campaign entirely, but if there was one highlight the whole thing it's the endgame mode that you unlock after finishing it, because that's really fun. You get full access to the massive Avalon map. You can play with 4 players or by yourself, completing objectives, upgrading your character, and collecting better weapons. It's actually fun, and it almost makes going through the campaign to unlock it worth it. Almost. Another thing that sucks is it's always online, even the campaign. This is the case with Black Ops 6 as well, but somehow it's worse here. You idle for too long, you're kicked out of the level you're on, even if you're playing solo. And if you then you have to re-watch these long, tedious, and completely pointless cutscenes. again, which I don't know what it is. I don't get it. I can't overstate how asinine the story is. It's maybe the worst in Call of Duty history, and that's saying something. The dialogue, the twists, even something as simple as the name of the bad guys is laughable. I mean, the Guild, that's what you're going with? They've got fear gas called the Cradle. Their quantum computer lab is the Forge. They've got an offshore oil rig called Blackheart that, get this, is actually a secret base where they're making the fear gas. Who could have guessed? So yeah, the campaign is as bad as you've probably heard. So bad that it threatens to drag the rest of the game down with it. It doesn't quite go that far. The multiplayer is good. Zombies mode, good. I mean, really good even. They're both, the multiplayer stuff's great. Not the co-op multiplayer stuff, to be clear. The regular multiplayer stuff. All that, it's mostly going back to the basics rather than reinventing the wheel. But I mean, for a lot of people, that's what it needed to do. It feels good to play despite everything else. So it really just depends on the type of Call of Duty player you are. If you come in for the campaign and nothing else, stay far away. I'm not going to keep playing this game. Like, watch a compilation of the dumbest moments on YouTube, have a chuckle, that's it. If you're more into the multiplayer, I'd say solid entry. I like it more than Black Ops 6's PvP stuff so far. And the zombies mode is also a satisfying return to form. It's just, I mean, that's not why I play Call of Duty. The endgame stuff is cool, and that's closer to the type of thing I would want from a Call of Duty game. But getting there isn't really worth the trouble. Like, it's a legendarily bad campaign. Decent to good with everything else, though. What do you think, though? Leave us a comment. Let us know. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications. And as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.
If any of you are still on foot, try to keep up. I'm gonna fly through the signal hotspot to get a clear read on his location.